All right, hey, what's up, everybody? Mike Lindsley back with you here at the Brewerton Diner, getting ready for a little breakfast omelet, sausage, egg, and cheese. Can't wait to get it. And I am here because A, it's my favorite place. B, it's the official diner of the ML Sports Platter. And C, I'm going to deliver you 9 minutes with Mike Lindsley right here on IGTV, YouTube, and Facebook, previewing today's matchup at the Carrier Dome. Don't believe what WSYR says. They say it's a 1 o'clock game. It's a 2 o'clock tip-off at the Carrier Dome. I look at this thing as a Syracuse win, 72-57, and the reason I'm going to say that is because St. Bonaventure just doesn't have the depth. They don't have the experience at this point of the season. They've lost to Niagara. They've blown a 14-point lead to Bucknell. They've blown a bunch of other leads this year, and for their wins, they barely squeaked by as well. So, and the Vermont game was ultra disappointing as well. They just don't have enough bodies to make up for the loss of Idris Taki, who shut down Tyus Battle last year at the Carrier Dome, and of course Jalen Adams and Matt Mobley, who were two of the best players, not just in the Atlantic 10, but in the entire country. And they're just waiting for the freshman class to develop. They're waiting for Dominic Welsh to develop. They're waiting for Kyle Lofton to develop. They're waiting for Ocean Oshinini to develop as well, the big man inside, who chose St. Bonaventure over Georgetown and Syracuse. When you look at this overall matchup in terms of like where it's going to be won, where it's going to be lost, I just am very worried about where Bonaventure is going to be guarding the Syracuse Orange today. I think it's going to be an unbelievably difficult task for any of the guys on defense. Bonaventure is not good on defense this year. It's going to be very tough for them to guard, the one-on-one matchups of better, longer, faster athletes like Tyus Battle and O'Shea Brissett. I mean, we're still talking about NBA talent. I realize that Syracuse has for sure really struggled this year. They lost to Old Dominion. They almost lost to Georgetown. They had a bad showing at the Garden as well. But the flat-out truth of the matter is, this is still a team that's loaded with NBA talent in terms of O'Shea Brissett and Tyus Battle. And I think when you look at the overall 2-3 zone, it's going to be a hit and miss for St. Bonaventure. Can they shoot the basketball from the outside? That's always a big key. When you play in the Carrier Dome, one of two things happens. One, you go on one side and you shoot lights out and you just have one of those days. On the other side, you struggle because you're struggling with the lights. The shooting is a little off. It's a cavernous place. Remember, the Carrier Dome is much larger than the Riley Center. This is a place that seats a good 28,000 people to 32,000 people more for basketball, and of course it's in a multifaceted venue for football, which holds 50. So this is a very different, unique approach for the St. Bonaventure Bonnies, and for the guys who didn't play in this game last year, it can be a very intimidating place. Courtney Stockard, of course, has. Griffin has. Those are the big guns for St. Bonaventure today. I think if they're going to have any chance at this thing, I think Syracuse has to limit or at least contain Tyus Battle, number one. I think Bona, of course, has to get, knock some shots down without question. And I think number three, and this is going to be a one that's not talked about, I don't think, in a lot of pregames, but for St. Bonaventure, because they lack a lot of that experience, they lack a lot of that depth, they cannot get in foul trouble in terms of their starters. If their starters get into foul trouble, it's going to be man against boys. Mark Schmidt's going to have to pull freshmen right off the bench and guys who just aren't experienced to play against Syracuse. So I'm going to go Syracuse 72-57 in this game. I think Cuse is keys. Number one, outside shooting. I think number two clearly is going to be getting out to a fast start. And I think number three is just simply focus. I think if they focus in this basketball game, they're going to be totally fine. And again, I'm picking Syracuse to win this thing 72-57. I'm here at the Brewerton Diner. Make sure you come down for breakfast, for lunch. They've got the breakfast omelets, which I'm getting right now. They've got the unbelievable omelets. They've got the great corned beef hash entrees and the Brewerton Benedict on the Texas toast with the bacon gravy, the 2 over easy eggs. I always add ham to that thing as well. It's a tremendous meal. You can also stop by here for lunch, which you can get a Hero, a Reuben, a Philly steak, and a plethora of other great menu items, including a Brewerton burger, one of my favorites on the menu as well. And of course, come down and sign up. Just to the left of me, they have a sign-up sheet for Syracuse-Pittsburgh at the Carrier Dome coming up in January, and you can come sign up and try to win tickets to that terrific basketball game. All right, I'm going to spend the last 4 minutes or so talking about Syracuse football's amazing win last night over West Virginia in the Camping World Bowl. Yes, I'm wearing my Syracuse sweatshirt in honor of the win last night, not for today for Syracuse basketball. It's the only time all year long that I don't cheer for SU basketball, when they play my alma mater against St. Bonnie. But in this game last night, Syracuse, I thought, with the conservative play calling and a lack of discipline, really were the two problems for this team, not taking care of business early against West Virginia. Remember, West Virginia went into this game without Gary Jennings Jr. at wide receiver, without Will Greer at quarterback. This should have been, I thought, at least a double-digit win for Syracuse. And frankly, as the game went on, Syracuse could have won this game by 30. They just didn't open up the playbook, I thought, enough in the early going. Eventually, what happened? They started to open it up. Dungey hits Custis for a big bomb down to the right side. They're starting to open up the middle of the field. They start running the football incredibly well. Dungey makes a couple of pirouette plays. What happens? Well, when you get a big lead against a quarterback who has to throw the ball without a lot of experience and he gets a little jittery, that becomes a major problem. Guess what? Then the turnovers start. Then the fumbles start. The quarterback tries to press and do things that he's not accustomed to. And frankly, Jack Allison hasn't had a lot of time this year. Will Greer is an NFL pick. I think he's going to go mid-second round or late first round in the NFL draft. Allison's a backup. He's not experienced. He's not ready for that situation last night. Brian Ward and the SU defense did a tremendous job last night. Once Syracuse got the lead, bringing in extra blitzes, pressuring him more, forcing him into situations that he wasn't comfortable in, and that really iced the cake in terms of Syracuse beating West Virginia last night. Now, in terms of the future of this program, unbelievably bright. Dungey graduates, of course, but you've got Tommy DeVito in at quarterback. You've got running backs coming back. You've got Mo Neal coming back. You have Jarvion Howard coming back. You have Abdul Adams coming back. You have receivers coming back like Nykeem Johnson, Taj Harris. You've got a terrific potpourri of offensive linemen coming back. And then on the defensive side of the football, you lose a couple of guys up front, but boy, you've got an unbelievable core coming back in terms of the secondary. You know, with guys like Terrell Williams and company. You've got the kicker and Andre Schmidt coming back, who was fantastic this year, setting all kinds of records as a freshman as well. So this team is primed and ready to, I think, be really good for a long time. I think Syracuse should be going to bowls every single year at this point under Dino Babers. He has done what he said he was going to do. Year 3, build the program, building blocks, underbelly the program, the whole thing with this team. Dino Babers has done it. Now, remember, they went 4-8 in year 1, collapsed. Year 2, collapsed, 4-8. This year, they turn the tide. They go 10-3. It's only the 7th 10-win season in Syracuse football history, and their first since 2001. This team is built for the future. I can't say enough about this senior class. Remember, it was Scott Schaefer who brought Eric Dungey and company into Syracuse, and look at what's happened in 4 years. You saw Eric Dungey break down at the podium after this game last night. Eric Dungey is a fantastic role model, leader, warrior, really kept this team together, and Eric Dungey should be applauded for really being, I think, the ringleader of this senior class, this ringleader of this football team, getting it done in 2018, going to a bowl game, achieving a ton of goals, getting double-digit victories, and the key, of course, for Syracuse this year and for Dungey this year, easily was his health. He was healthy for the majority of this season. Now, again, if Tommy DeVito needed to go in even more than he did in the North Carolina game, and of course he made the game-winning score pass to Ravion Pierce, I wasn't panicking if Tommy DeVito was in there because he's very, very good. In fact, I called for him maybe getting more starts over Dungey. But again, this wasn't DeVito's year. It was Dungey's year. I was wrong on that. Dungey should be praised for it. Tommy DeVito will be ready next year, but you can't say enough about Eric Dungey, his leadership, his growth, his warrior mentality for this SU football team. Congrats to Dino Babers, the players, and the SU football organization. Get down here to the Brewerton Diner. I'm Mike Lindsley. As I always tell you, enjoy the games.